TWF 2017. I am sorry you had to hear all of my titles. So my name is Matt Joe. I'm with Avanade. I am actually this fiscal year, so it's all fiscal year. We just started our fiscal year in September. I have dropped all of those words. I am just now the global innovation lead for our company. And I live in Seattle. So I'm from Seattle, Washington, United States, and I'm really happy and excited to be here and to help talk about these topics, in particular, becoming a digital humanist, which I think is one of the most important topics that we can all rally around in today's world. And I'm really excited to join the TWS community. So I know you heard a little bit about this from Aleem this morning, but I feel like I should kind of introduce our company because this is our first time in Poland. So I'm kind of kicking off this relationship. So we are the leading provider of innovative digital and cloud services and business solutions, and actually design-led experiences. And we do this through a combination of people, because we are a consultancy, and through the Microsoft ecosystem. And let me pause here for a minute, because that last part is actually pretty important. Because if you know Microsoft, you kind of know their products and you know their platforms. But what we look at is the entire ecosystem. So what that means is it's the Microsoft products, it's the products that the platform enables, and it's the devices and services that the platform integrates with. So if you have an iPhone, for example, and you have Office 365 running on it or something like that, the reality is that's our playground as well. So we're really excited to be here. We've been around for a while as well. We were formed in 2000. We are a joint venture between Accenture and Microsoft. For those Avanade employees sitting here, I see a few of you. This is a little inside joke. We've been around for 17 years, right? I'm not sure why we've only had a good reputation and a legacy for 15 years. So I don't know what 2 years we're ignoring, or maybe we didn't do very well there. But we are really a passionate company, and I think that's why the Infusion company and why the Way Forward conference and people like you are really close to us and near and dear to us, and so I'm really excited to talk to you today. So a little bit about me. I went to Boston College in Massachusetts. I'm actually from Portland, Oregon originally, though. I studied computer science, and I studied cognitive science. And if you're a student out there, I would definitely recommend that you study cognitive science. Cognitive science is a really interesting mix of philosophy, of neuroscience, psychology, linguistics, anthropology, and artificial intelligence. So when I went to school way back in the 90s, that was sort of a weird, theoretical world. In today's world, it's extremely relevant. And so I went over to Sequent Computer Systems. This is really where I started my professional technology career. I was in their Java security team. I moved from there to Sun Microsystems, and that's actually where I started to apply my cognitive science skills, and I helped run the usability lab at Sun Microsystems with folks like Jacob Nielsen. From there, I went to that company. At the time, it was actually called Anderson Consulting. So there was no Accenture at the time, it was Anderson Consulting. And there I focused on the media and entertainment industry. So I'm very familiar with the MP3 parsing and all that way back in the 90s. It was a really fun time, actually, the dot-com era, right? And then in the year 2000, we formed this company called Avanade. And that's really where my Microsoft background comes from. So, this is actually when I started, it was before .NET. There was no .NET. At the time, the Windows Server world was Windows NT, so it's very different. I know some of you have probably never touched these things, and you're very lucky about that. But we focused on a lot of reusable .NET architecture, again, my engineering background. And if you've been coding in .NET for a while, you may not know that you have a relationship with Avanade. So we actually licensed this component architecture called ACA.NET to Microsoft in the mid-2000s, and that became something very well known called Enterprise Library. And anyway, you'll notice there are 2 blank spots there. And that's because I left Avanade in 2009. And I joined a company as their CTO called POP. That's a digital agency. So this whole day actually has been very, very interesting to me because I then went into the consumer space. If you've ever been to Pokemon.com, that was us. I've had Nike as a client. I've had other big brands as a client, but we did mobile, we did commerce, we did multi-platform web, environmental displays, and wearables. So a very interesting time, especially during those years of 2009 to around 2013. of all things, to go back to the company, to come back to Avanade. And that's really where I was looking at what was going on in the consumer space, what was going on with Apple, with Google, with Microsoft, with Facebook, with HBO, with all these consumer things, and what's the enterprise starting to learn about though, about what they've been up to. I think that's where innovation, in particular design-led experiences and transforming enterprise really became exciting, re-energizing to me. So let me talk to you about really where this story is going to start. And that begins with our technology vision. So one of the hardest things to get from technologists, maybe I'm being sarcastic, is a point of view. Most of us have a point of view of something. And in the enterprise, they're always interested in what do you see going on today? And what do you see beyond the horizon? And how can you help me bring it into focus? And that's really a challenge when you look at all the different enterprises and all the different industries and all the different countries that we operate in. So to distill that down and help advise our clients, we really use our technology vision for that. Because again, in today's innovation world, you have to be able to innovate, pivot, rotate in today, but then you also have to have a sense of what's coming tomorrow so that you can transition your project, your strategy, whatever it may be, into tomorrow. And so over the years we've been doing this, became fairly evident. We didn't really ever say it, but it became fairly evident that we are in an AI-first world. Artificial intelligence is going to change the way that we do our work, that we drive our cars, that we tell time, that we parent our children, everything, right? It's pretty important. And so we wrote this down because it was a challenge to our own organization and it was a challenge to our clients to get ready, to start to experiment. You better get ready now, you better learn now, because tomorrow if you're going to get caught off guard, you will get caught off guard and you'll do it quickly. And so really, as much as it's a technology thing, and you can look at all the AI tribes, as you might call it, or AI strategies or platforms, there is no clear winner at this point. But if you think about it, a lot of it's mental, it's cultural. And so we picked this quote from Grace Hopper really to help us understand what AI-first world means. And humans are allergic to change. They love to say, we've always done it this way. I try to fight that. And I think in today's world, as you solution something or as you start to experiment with things like robotic process automation, with things like intelligent cognitive services, with things like robotics in the physical world, I think you have to sort of change the way that you're looking at your opportunities. And so one click down are the chapters. And so if you've ever written a tech vision, you know this, is that oftentimes it's just an evolution of something that you've seen from the year before. It's very rare for something to pop up and become so new that it's going to be enough, it's going to have enough information and it's going to have enough evidence for you to write a chapter. But for example, new user experiences. It's actually really fun to see the HoloLens outside. We've been working with that for years, but you can talk about augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. I think in today's world, voice is the new user interface. I don't know if you use an Amazon Echo or Cortana or Google Now or Siri. We're talking to our computers. Your wearable, it doesn't have an interface. Your motion is its interface. The notion of no user interface is very important. Anyway, the platform economy is also something that I think if you've been doing web for a while, you know this already. It's an API world. But in the enterprise and with cloud, becoming an API programmable enterprise that can then suck in other APIs from the web or from your partners or in some cases your competitors, that's an interesting economy that's going to start. The augmented workforce is actually one of my favorite topics because we are starting to see this today in your homes. It used to be that HR dealt with people, and they still deal with people. But what our clients are seeing is their workforce is a blend of intelligent systems, things like devices, sensors, and the humans. And the challenge of the workforce is to blend those things together to augment our human interaction in the physical world. It's really, really a fun topic. Design ops it's actually a made-up word. We made this up. We've been doing DevOps. We want to do more DevOps. We're trying to drive that into our culture. But taking a design-led approach to understand exactly what that means and why we need to do that and how we interact with the systems and how we interact with the users is really, really important. And then finally, digital ethics. This is all about really being aware of what we're doing with technology and the implications to not only your consumers, but also to your workforce. And so what I thought I'd do is talk about AI today and sort of baseline why ethics might be an interesting topic that we should all begin to think about. And so this is an example of a lot of what our clients are doing. No one is just entering AI. No one's just like, oh, I have a full AI running in my system. Most people are, what they're doing is they're doing what we call robotic process automation, where you're automating a process. So this is a help desk ticket. They're asking, I don't remember the Wi-Fi password. We all know, you email your help desk. Now what you have on the right there is from one of our partners, Blue Prism, which is a robotic process. It is going through, it is picking the email off the queue. It is sending that text to Microsoft Cognitive Services doing text analytics. It is finding intent. It is finding tone and sentiment. And it's going to respond automatically to that help desk ticket. It's going to go to the knowledge base, get the article, and it's going to send it back to the user. So think about that. Think about that from an insurance company, how many claims they can process overnight. Think about the help desk. Now, from a business standpoint, this is very powerful. But from a workplace standpoint, from a human standpoint, it changes the roles and responsibilities of your employees, the call center agents. It changes the number of agents you may need, right? So this is kind of a pivotal moment. We are in the intelligence era. You can even view it as an intelligence revolution. You can think of it going from horses to trains, trains to planes, right? And so the notion of our children's jobs being different than what we know today should be fairly obvious now with this. And this is just the first step. This is a step towards intelligent automation. This is a step towards artificial intelligence. If anything right now, and you think about all the different statements around the future of AI, this is really more about artificial smartness, but we are on a journey to intelligence. So let's talk about what people are saying around AI. Okay, so here's a little game. If you recognize who this person is, don't yell it when I'm reading it, because I want to read it for the people in the back of the room. But what we're going to do is I'm going to read some statements around artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact us, and you tell me who it is. So you all yell it at once after I'm done reading. All right. Success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might also be the last unless we learn to avoid the risks. In near term, world militaries are considering autonomous weapon systems that can choose and eliminate targets. This person also said humans, limited by slow biological evolution, couldn't compete and would be superseded by AI. Yes, Stephen Hawking. There he is. Next. I am in the camp that is concerned about superintelligence. First, the machines will do a lot of jobs for us and not be super intelligent, kind of in that world today. That should be a positive if we manage it well. A few decades after that, though, the intelligence is strong enough to be a concern. I agree with Elon Musk, it's not Elon, and some others on this, and don't understand why some people are not concerned. Anyone? Yes, Bill Gates. Let's just go to Elon. What did Elon actually say? It's our greatest existential threat. So you've got three pretty dumb people up here. Yeah, that's a joke. Pretty smart people, all from kind of different areas of either technology or science or even humanity. And they're a little worried. They're a little worried. And if you think about world leaders, just a few weeks, maybe not more than 2 months ago, this was said. Artificial intelligence is the future, not only for Russia, but for all humankind. It comes with colossal opportunities, but also threats that are difficult to predict. Whoever becomes the leader in this sphere will become the ruler of the world. That's pretty serious. And you know what's interesting about that statement that he said? He didn't say it to a military. He didn't say it at a state speech. He was speaking to students, which I think is the right audience. He is talking to them about what they will do and what they will invent and how they hold the future of Russia or other countries in their hands. Which brings me back to the technology vision, and really to this whole notion of being a digital humanist. If you think about that automated workforce and that robotic process, is it ethical? Is it what we should be doing? Is it the next step? What's the next step after that? What is the domino effect of saying go? Just around, right? What's going to happen? So if you combine these, though, I think it gets really interesting. And I'm pretty sure digital ethics is not something that a lot of you have thought about. Because as technologists, we come up with requirements, or as designers or as strategists, we come up with requirements and we satisfy those requirements. We don't question it. So what I wanted to do today is give you a very simple framework, because now is the time to question those requirements. If you think about it as technologists, way back when, we said, you know what, QA needs to be involved up front. Right, remember that? And then all of a sudden it was like, we need a designer. We need like a creative person involved up front. And then it became, oh, you know what? We need a strategist involved up front. And you know what? You need all those people. So we learned. However, in today's world, I think you also need an ethicist, or at least have the ethical conversation around, is this the right thing? And so this is a modified summary, sort of Matt's words plus some others from Gartner, but I think it's really, really good. So digital ethics is around what is possible with digital technology, right? So the art of the possible. Because I actually believe that really nothing is impossible with today's technology. We can find a way. It's also a combination in that intersection of what is morally desired by the user. What are they really looking for? And then the last one is, what is required by law? Right? And it's really that, this is the sweet spot. This is digital ethics. If you think about that, though, this is what makes it complicated. Because what's required by law in Seattle is different than what's required by law in Krakow. And what's desired by you is a little bit different than what's desired by my kids, which might be different than my grandparents or my parents. And then when you have these applications or solutions that are touching them all, what does that really mean? It's a challenge. But if we don't do this right and we don't ask these questions as we are creating our solutions and as we are inventing the future, we could be in a world of hurt. We could do bad things. And so I can't predict the future, and we can't predict the future. But if I think about the future, it really brings me to this really good quote from Adam Kay. You know, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So as a digital humanist, as you invent our future, as our clients are inventing their future, as your companies, or if you start a company, as you invent it, or if I do it, really my point is, as we invent the future, we have to take an ethical standpoint. We have to think about ethics in our digital solutions, in our cloud technologies, in our autonomous vehicles, right? And so my challenge to you today, as you are in your sessions, and as you're learning about mixed reality, and as you're learning around machine learning and predictive analytics, and blockchain, and all these great things that this conference is touching on, my real ask to this audience, and I'm saying the same thing to my company and our clients and Accenture and Microsoft and everyone, is that you do good. Because it is in our hands. Elon, Steven, Vladimir, Bill, they could all be right. And they will be right in some ways. But that's the challenge to us. So I wanted to thank you for your time. Thank you for attending. Thank you.